Ay, ay. Look, I'm too cool for the rules, baby, get off of me. Never need no push, I do it all for me. Keep a couple real hitters, got them on call for me. Money moving, got it in the market where it ought to be. Too true for the flex, baby, don't cap to me. Drop 50, bring 150 right back to me. Keep a couple real hitters, got them on call for me. Money moving, got it in the market where it ought to be. Look, Papa don't preach, teachers don't teach. Gon' reach, that's facts. I ain't worried about none of that. I'm making that cash stack. Bunch of O's like NASCAR, but it's really more like NASDAQ. Why they thinking that they hot when they really more like quarter on me like a referee? Hating what they'll never be. Small top with a big bottom, yeah, shorty shaped like a letter D. Let her have it, then I let her be. If you love it, gotta let it grow. Crazy cause you really never know. When I'm hurting, never let it show. I'm a two-tone, two-phone, two-chain, new thing, lane whip, but you a broke. Low class, no cash, certified lame. I've been getting to it like I ought to. Couldn't pick, so I bought two. Understand why your chick came, I'm just trying to figure why she brought you. I'm really rapping and I'm flexed up, and I ain't gotta tell them I'm next up. Sleep on the they rest up, but I'm up and I'm getting my checks up. Me and the fellas be high as propellers, ain't could tell us we great. Looking at like how do you figure unless you been talk about 8 figures. I'm too cool for the rules, baby, get off of me. Never need no push, I do it all for me. Keep a couple real hitters, got them on call for me. Money moving, got it in the market where it ought to be. Too true for the flex, baby, don't cap to me. Drop 50, bring 150 right back to me. Keep a couple real hitters, got them on call for me. Money moving, got it in the market where it ought to be. Look how we litty, we turned up the city, we raising the bar height. I been finessing, just look at them stressing, yeah, they been up all night. Sipping this water with somebody's daughter, she take what I taught her and build on it. Came in this game on that today, ain't in a couple years later, we still on it. Be hating on it, be waiting on it like a new season. I bet an acre on it, I put some paper on it like I'm loose leafing. Buying them assets, build me a cash net I could fall in. Look at my last bet, ain't got a tiptoe, I'm all in. Think on a level that can't fail, and I roll me a J with the hate mail. Been doing good on the merch sale, all this bread on me look like a bake sale. Tell her your was really good, I be really good on a jaw jack. Send an email about the bread, I'ma hit you back with the call back. I'm too cool for the rules, baby, get off of me. Never need no push, I do it all for me. Keep a couple real hitters, got them on call for me. Money moving, got it in the market where it ought to be. Too true for the flex, baby, don't cap to me. Drop 50, bring 150 right back to me. Keep a couple real hitters, got them on call for me. Money moving, got it in the market where it ought to be.
Come on in, hit that like button. Let me know where you guys are checking in from on this Thursday night. What is this? Episode 14. 14. And tonight we're going to be talking about what's next for box trucking. I specifically want to talk about the upcoming year. All right. So I'm going to talk about the upcoming year. And I'm going to make this quick tonight, guys. I only want to be on here an hour. I kind of want to unwind. I want to meditate a little bit before I go to bed. So I'm not going to hold you guys too long tonight. I want to try to do this in an hour. So I want to talk about the current state. All right. The time is here, so we need to get this out the way. And I want to talk about 2024. And I'm going to give my thoughts and I'm going to give my strategy. It's going to be pretty much similar to the strategy I gave last year. The people who moved on it early, who believed in me and trusted my judgment, those are the people that ultimately won in the end. The people who pussyfooted around, excuse my language, those are the people that, I don't want to say got left caught holding the bag. Some people were still able to transition, but I always talk about being an early adopter. You know what I'm saying? You want to be in these things early because you want to secure a position. All right. So real brief, I want to just get through this stuff really, really quick. Tonight, let me do this roll call real quick. Mark Brown, I see you. Pippi, shout out to all the MGM. Shout out to the moderators in the building. Appreciate you. Big Hearn, what up? Houston, Texas. Kelvin Burst, Texas. Isdy Walt, Cleveland. I see Long Island. I see CDA CEO. What's going on? INGS Logistics. Is it Mr. Ra 246 or is it Ra 246? Which one is it? Is it Mr. Ra 246? But I see you either way. Great Polo, STL in the building. Shout out to Great Polo, Kelvin Birch. Juan, I see you. I see you. Fort Myers, North Carolina. I see D. Henderson. Where is peak season? We're going to talk about it. We're going to talk about it in a minute. Actually, that's the first thing we're going to talk about. We're going to go ahead and get that out the way. And I'm going to be gentle, man. I'm going to be gentle. Somebody told me the other day, you rubbing in our faces. Well, man, you got to listen. I'm the only one giving you the forecast, predicting stuff. I'm the one taking these risks. A lot of people want to see I'm wrong so they can laugh and point. That's why I do my best to be 100% right, so that doesn't happen. So, but we're gonna talk about it. Shouts out to what is this? What's this? Great Polo. Surprise, Mark hasn't put up the flyer yet. Put up what flyer? Oh, from last year? Oh, D. Henderson, that means you've been following me for at least a year. Yeah, I did a flyer last year. I'm not doing that this year. I'm not gonna poke no fun. You know what I'm saying? I'm not gonna do that. I did put up. I wonder if I still got that flyer from last year. Matter of fact, it's on my Instagram. Hold on, let's see. Hold on, let me see. Let me pull that flyer up. This how petty I was last year. Hold on. Let's see. Oh, let me show you how petty I was last year. I ain't gonna be that petty this year. Oh shoot. Hold on, y'all. Let me see if I got it. It's on my Instagram. Look, I ain't finna be pulling that up. Y'all go look at my Instagram. Around this time last year, I put a flyer up. I basically put a missing flyer up for peak season. I did a missing flyer for peak season. I'm not gonna get petty like that this year. But I see people want me to be wrong, and I don't blame you. I expect someone. I would expect a person to want me to be wrong because obviously they want to see massive gains so they can make money. You know what I'm saying? But I'm a realist. All right, I'm a realist, and I've been doing this for a while. I've seen what a normal peak season looks like. I saw what a pandemic peak season looks like. I understood what was going on during the pandemic, and no matter how many times I explain it to people just going to continue to hope and pray and wish for 2021 again, and it's not going to happen. But I'm not going to get petty like how I did last year, D. I'm just going to let it rock out, and it is what it is. The people who listen, they listen. The ones that don't. ultimately, I'm here for the people who want to listen. All right. I've been right thus far, so I don't know what else I need to do, to prove to you that I know what I'm talking about. So, INGS, what's going on, Pippi? I see you, Asmarola, in the building. I see you, West Coast, in the building. All right, so since you brought it up, that was my first topic of business. We're going to get straight into it because I want to get in and I want to get out. Let's talk about peak season. Let's talk about peak season since we almost halfway in the month of November. Let's just get straight to it. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about what happened to it. Let's talk about, I pressed the right button. Hold on, let's see. All right, let me move this over to this screen. And then put this over on this screen. Let me pull that up there. All right, so boom. Peak season. What happened to peak season? All right. Basically, it's everything that I was telling y'all it was going to be and why you weren't going to see a peak season. I gave you guys the play on how I forecast peak season every year. I gave you guys the trick. I don't mind giving people the play. You know what I'm saying? Because Mark ain't going to be here forever. Mark ain't going to be on YouTube forever. This is not something that I'm going to be doing forever. So I'm going to give you the play so that you can take it and do as you may with it. All right. So the play is looking at the ocean freight in the summertime. You look at the ocean freight in the summertime, and that's going to dictate to you what peak season is going to look like because it's a cycle, right? Peak season is a cycle. All right. There's different modes to peak season. You know what I'm saying? A person that's new, I said before, I'll say it again for the new people that are here. I know I've gotten a bunch of subscribers since we talked about this in February. It's different modes. Most of our commodities come from China. All right. It takes about 30 days for those items to get imported over by sea, right? From China to the US. It's about a 30-day turnaround, right? And that usually starts happening somewhere in July, August. From there, stuff goes on a truck and it either runs via truck or it goes from the port to a rail yard, right? And then it goes intermodal and it gets distributed throughout the country. I'm in Chicago, so I'm in the hub. I'm in the number one, this is the freight capital for intermodal. We're number one. And, we bounce around like 2 and 3 for just freight general throughout the country, right? So then from there, it goes to a warehouse and then it goes to a retailer or a fulfillment center to go to a shelf, right, in a store or to the customer's doorstep via final mount. And this process takes some time. So if the demand of freight or if the volume of freight is down, right, when peak season items start coming in the summer, then you can pretty much gauge what peak season is going to look like. Halloween, October 31st, the overnight transition team comes in the store when the store closes. Walmart, Target, right? October 31st. They work throughout the night. When you go into Walmart, Target the next day, that seasonal aisle where you saw pumpkins and plastic pumpkins and Halloween candy the day before, is now Christmas trees, garland, lights, candy canes, so on and so forth. The items are already there. They were already there, right? So this stuff needs to be in transition prior to Black Friday. I don't know what people think this peak season, the stuff just pops up and, no, it has to transition. All right, so what happened to it? All right, so no typical peak season, and here's the reasons why. Basically, same things that I told you a few months ago. Low consumer demand means low volume. Volume is down across the board. Consumers have less demand for material items, which naturally impacts the entire supply chain. The two main reasons: out of lockdown mindset shift. What do I always talk about? Consumer buying behavior has shifted. We bought all the TVs. We stood in the lines at the Gucci store. We stood in lines at Louis Vuitton. We stood in the lines at the Burberry store. Anybody that was still had a tube TV, which I'm pretty sure nobody had it, but anybody that still had an old plasma screen TV or a TV that was 10, 11 years old, an old LCD TV that was 720p or 1080p, they didn't have a 4K TV. Once that money started rolling in, people started spending that money. All right, so it's a combination of people not having money now, as well as people buying everything their hearts desired when the money was coming in. Everybody has everything, and no one has money to buy anything even if they wanted to buy something, all right? The mindset has shifted. Now that we are out of lockdown, people are not purchasing physical products to the same extent. They are rather spending their money. And this is a new article. This article came out a few days ago. Their money on experiences such as travel, concerts, restaurants. I always talk about service-based, experience-based service spending. All right. And the article is mimicking everything that I've been telling you throughout the year. Additionally, with the overstock from overordering still available from when the market was booming, there seems to be a little need for shipping. Now, the overstock was something that I talked about a lot last year around this time because consumer buyer behavior had started that shift in the middle of last year. And those stores, if you don't remember, they were ordering an overabundance of stuff because when we had that first lockdown, the supply chain got disrupted, right? Supply chain got disrupted. The shelves were empty, right? Some of the red states, once the original lockdown was over and things started to open back up at the end of 2020, going into 2021, and then when the wintertime 2021 came around, the summer things kind of opened up, but you had to wear a mask depending on if you were in a blue state or in a red state. Red states were pretty much wide open. That's why you've seen a lot of people flocking to Georgia and Texas. But living in a blue state, things were kind of semi-open, but they weren't. Like things had kind of transitioned to outside. And then when the wintertime came around, things went back on lockdown, right? You couldn't go into clubs, you couldn't go into bars, things were shut down, right? So retailers were in fear of that second lockdown or those additional lockdowns because they're remembering how the first one was and the supply chain got disrupted and their shelves were empty. So just in case something like that happened again, because there still was a lot of uncertainty, stores were ordering an overabundance of stuff. They were ordering more stuff than what they would typically order just in case. And then what happened when these things started to trickle in, consumer buying behavior had shifted and they were stuck with all this stuff. This is how I was able to predict peak season last year, and that was the reason why. Here we are a year after that, and there is still an overabundance of stuff. There's still an overabundance of stuff. The reason why Amazon did an additional Prime Day last year was to try to get rid of some of the stuff. They did an additional Prime Day this year, and they also did that additional Prime Day last year and this year in October, and it kind of helped them gauge what peak season would look like. So you still have the overstock from all the stuff that was ordered in the pandemic. All right, inflation and high interest rates. Inflation and high interest rates. All right, everyone knows about inflation. Everyone knows about the high interest rates. We're about at 8.02 right now. This isn't no alcohol, Axel. This is coffee. This is a little coffee, man, just to give me a little boost, man. Give me a little boost. All right. So everybody knows about the inflation. Everybody knows about the interest rate. That's another thing that's keeping people from spending. So with all this coupled in together, freight is just down. No one has missed the impact of inflation spike we have seen across the globe. With inflation keeping the prices high, consumers are significantly more careful with their spending. On top, interest rates are high, making items bought on credit more expensive for households and businesses alike. All right, so that's peak season. That's peak season for this year. All right. Hopefully people, listened to me 3-4 months ago when I said we were going to get to this point. I know a lot of people didn't. And I said that when we got to this point, we were going to see a cyclical effect that we saw last year. Everything that I'm seeing this year play out is the same thing that I saw last year. The difference is last year, with me being on YouTube, it's my first year on YouTube, a lot of the stuff that was going on, it was new to me, I knew why things were happening, why people were mad, why people were creating videos calling it trash, blah, blah, Skippy. But this year I know why too. And that's why I said you're going to start seeing a lot of finger pointing, funny videos, this, that, and the third, because people were hoping, people were praying, people were, already spending money, right? Because they're thinking that, peak season, people are going to run to the store and spend money, and it's just not like that. It's just not like that. So I don't really have nothing else to say about peak season. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. Got to be a good business person and be able to forecast. All right, let's get into this next story. Let's start talking about 2024. All right, 2024, I've been slowly telling you guys what my expectations for 2024 is. Now that we're almost through this year, and I can kind of forecast what lies ahead. I've been saying it recently. I've been making the call that 2024 is going to be pretty much parallel to 2023. All right. You're not going to see, me personally, just from knowing what I know, 2024 is going to be similar. Why? The economy hasn't cooled off. All right. The point of raising the interest rate is to get the country to stop spending, right? So we can drive the inflation rate down. I think the inflation rate now is about 6 point. Oh, let's see. Inflation rate now is about, no, it's not 6. Hold on, I think it is 3.7. All right, so inflation rate now is 3.7. All right, as of right here, the number hasn't come out for October yet. That'll be available November 14th. They'll give us the inflation rate for October, November 14th. But right now it's at a 3.7. The country needs to be at a 2.0 or lower. Now, if you look here, let's go back to 2022. The highest was June of 2022 at 9.1. And as they started raising interest rates, you saw the inflation rates slowly start to taper down. You're coming into January this year, 6.4, February 6.0, March 5.0, April 4.9, May 4.0, June 3.0, July went up a little bit, 3.2, August went up more, 3.7. It ran flat in September, 3.7. I'm not going to make a guess for October, but I'm pretty sure it's still going to be in the threes. But from the conversation and what I saw with Jerome Powell the other day, they're at that point now where, okay, the rates are cooling down. They're not cooling down as fast as they thought they would cool down, and people are still spending. So they're at that place now. Do we raise the rates more, or do we just let things settle over the next few months to see what people's behavior, what people do? Me personally, I think they're going to raise rates. 3.7 is still a ways away from 2.0. 3.7 is still a ways away from 2.0. And it's just like I've been saying, people are still spending. Like the article said, dinners, trips, plays, whatever, movies. People are going out and they're enjoying themselves and they're spending money there. Where's the money coming from? Who knows? They're probably working a full-time job and doing a gig job on the side. Whatever extra money people have, it's not being spent on goods. It's being spent on services. And ultimately, they want the country to cool down so that the interest rates can come down. And as interest rates come down, when the country stops, obviously, like I say all the time, businesses start to suffer. And when businesses start to suffer, they have to make cuts. And the first line of making cuts is layoffs. That drives up the unemployment rate. And then that's usually when the powers that be announces that the country is in recession. They never say we're in recession while all this is going on. It's usually at that time once the unemployment rate goes up, and then they'll say, okay, we're in recession, the economy is doing bad. Whatever. I think the rates are going to continue to go up. And as they go up, obviously things are going to get worse because people are going to spend less money because they're not going to have the money to spend. All right, now let's take a look at next year. I'm calling it for next year. I'm saying it's going to be similar to this year. Let's focus on Q4. I don't want people to focus on the year at a whole. I want you guys to focus on things quarter by quarter, all right? Quarter by quarter. Now, Q1 is always historically slow, all right? Ever since I've been in business, Q1 is always slow, all right? January is slow, February is slow. Prior to the pandemic, always slow. Why? Because when things were great, the economy was booming and bustling, right? People would spend an egregious amount of money in December. From Thanksgiving to New Year's, money is being spent. Thanksgiving, people are getting ready for Thanksgiving, whether they're traveling to their families, whether they're going out of the country, they're spending money to host events at their home, they're buying a lot of food. Then the very next day, you have Black Friday. People are starting their Christmas shopping that day, going into Cyber Monday, which is still kind of fairly new. I I would say Cyber Monday has been a thing maybe for the past maybe 6 to 10 years, you know what I'm saying? So then they're spending money again on Monday, and then from that Monday all the way up until Christmas Eve, people are shopping. They're buying gifts for their loved ones, their significant others. They're spending money. After Christmas is over and all the Christmas gifts and shit like that they've bought, and hosting dinners and Friendsgiving and all these made up days that people do now to spend money, Friendsgiving, coworkers giving, and all this stuff. Christmas is over. Then guess what's next? New Year's Eve. Got to get an outfit, got to get a tuxedo, got to get a car service. Here in Chicago, you have big comedy nights. New Year's Eve. I don't know, Cat Williams. These, you got to buy these tickets. Got to have your New Year's Eve dinner. Make reservations for that. Got to get your outfit. Got to get your car wash. Got to go to the liquor store. Stand in that long line. Get your fifth of 1942. You might be hosting a party. You got to buy all the liquor and food for that. January 1st comes. Everything is over with. The holidays is over with. People look back on all their spending from Thanksgiving to January 1st, and they realize they overspent. Their credit cards are maxed out. They're broke. Companies go on vacation because they know it's slow. So you got a lot of executives, people in companies take vacation because pretty much everything shuts down. Retail shuts down. Everything shuts down. Boom. So Q1 is historically slow. I think this Q1 is probably going to be similar to Q1 of this year. I think it's going to be a little bit slower than a normal Q1 if the economy was right. All right. I'm going to play this, right, from CNBC. CNBC put an article out 2 days ago, and they're basically mirroring what I've been saying for the past couple of weeks, that I think that 2024 is going to be a repeat of 2021. So I'm going to play this. It's short. It's like a minute, and then I'll give my commentary on it. Let's play it. Play. Hold on, y'all.
The results, concerns over consumer spending, and a tepid outlook for 2024 headlines this logistics survey. So far for the holiday season, trucking companies are moving more promotional items into stores than aspirational luxury and luxury items. 40% said they're seeing flat truck moves out of warehouses into the stores. 20% see a small uptick. This is not a bullish sign for trucking revenues, which are generated by truck moves. Looking ahead to Chinese Lunar New Year, shippers start to place orders now to bring their products in before the country shuts down in February. But 67% of those surveyed said they are not seeing an increase in orders. 17% said they're seeing an increase, but of only 3%. This sluggish outlook continues into the first half of 2024 as well. 34% expect freight volumes down to be either 5 to 10%. 33% of participants said it would be unchanged, with an equal percentage expecting an increase of just 5%. Taking a look at the second half of 2024, the outlook is a bit more optimistic. Half of respondents expect a 5% increase. 33% expect a 10% increase, and the remaining 17%, well, they're the most optimistic, with a 15% increase in freight volumes. For more on the survey, head to CNBC.com. For CNBC Business News, I'm Lorianne LaRocco.
All right, so let's dissect that for a second here. She's saying the second half of 2024, they put out a survey, and this article came out on CNBC 2 days ago. No, it came out 3 days ago. It came out Monday, November 6th. So it's a new article. So you guys can check that out for yourself if you want to read it, or you can watch it on your own. All right, so she said the second half, the survey they put out is expecting a 5% increase from where it was at this year. Now, for those that have been following the news and just following trucking or following my channel, they were saying the same thing last year. They were saying Q3, second half of next year is going to be up. For those that remember, you guys know what I'm talking about. And we saw that wasn't correct, right? I don't like to forecast that far ahead because you don't know what's going to happen that far ahead. We could break out in a war, another war could break out. Anything can happen, right? Anything can happen, all right? I like to focus on one quarter at a time. So Q1, all right? Now, a good way outside of historical data and just, things always being the same because it's cyclical, all right? It's cyclical, all right? Another good way to judge Q1 is based off the Chinese Lunar New Year, all right? Chinese Lunar New Year is always in February. It's usually like the first or the second week of February. And the entire country shuts down for a week, right? But with them shutting down for a whole week, for that country shutting down a whole week, right, in February, that creates about a 30 to 40 day lag, right? It creates about a 30 to 40 day lag. So them shutting down the country 1 week for the Chinese Lunar New Year puts manufacturing behind about a month to 40 days, right? So retailers and shippers and everything that in this country know that, right? Because it's cyclical, it's the same every year. So they place their orders that they would expect to sell in March and April, so on and so forth, early around this time, November, December, so that stuff can get manufactured, produced, shipped, put on a cargo ship and get over here so that when they shut down, they know they're going to be behind. Their shelves won't be empty. Whatever they're buying or getting manufactured over in China, they want to make sure they have it before they shut down because it does create a 30 to 40 day lag. Orders are down. All right. Orders are down. So retailers, shippers, whatever, are not ordering items to make sure that they get here before China shuts down for the Chinese Lunar New Year. So that's letting me know not only is Q1 going to be historically slow like it always is, it's probably going to be a little bit slower than it normally is because stores are not placing orders. So get bundled up, get prepared for a cold Q1 like you should do anyway. As far as the rest of the year, if I were to call it now, and don't put me on the record for this, I'm thinking it's going to be cyclical to this year because you got an election next year. All right. I think we're going to see some events occur next year. I don't want to put anything negative out in the air because I don't know. You know what I'm saying? I don't know, but every year something happens. We've had 2 wars where we had a war break out this year, right? We still got the war that's been going on with Russia and Ukraine. There's a silent war going on between us and China, right? For semiconductors, right? Biden recently just stopped, put a halt on more NVIDIA chips going over to China, right? China kind of has been countering with, shutting down some of the imports coming over here, right? Which is why we're trying to transition, having to deal with China on a lot of things, and we're trying to transition over to Mexico, right? The relationship between us and China is not great. That's why we're trying to transition a lot of manufacturing over into Mexico. All right, because we want to get a lot of our manufacturing out of China. All right, so there's a silent war going on between us and China. All right, and you can't predict the future. We don't know what's going on. We just know it's there and it does exist, but that could be amplified. It can amplify in February. It can amplify in March. It can amplify in April. Who knows? This is why I don't like to forecast that far ahead because you always got to keep in mind the unexpected, right? So Q1 is going to be slow. So now let's talk about what to do, all right? And the play that I'm going to give people this year, right, for Q1 and Q2 of next year is going to be similar to the same play that I told you guys last year. Actually, it's going to be the same. It's going to be absolutely the same. Now is the time to start applying with the companies to do direct curbside final mile. Now is the time. Why is now the time? Because you want to get in early. You want to be at the top of the list. You want to start making point of contact. You want to start bugging these people so they can remember you. So when we get into seasonal freight, right, which is about March, they'll remember you. You've already made, your contact with them, because you're going to get seasonal freight, guys. This is what I want you to focus on. I want you to think outside the box. All right. The reason why Home Depot pumps up, Lowe's pumps up in spring is for seasonal freight, right? You got a lot of building, you got a lot of gardening, right? A lot of projects that go on the outside of the home. And this is when all that stuff needs to get moved, right? All that stuff is curbside final mile delivery. Now, these contracts do have things going on year round. Like there's someone out right now that's running a T-Force curbside Home Depot contract literally right now that's out, but he's delivering a toilet, or he may be delivering a washer and dryer hose, or he may be delivering a garbage disposal, or I'm just trying to think, maybe a shower door. All right, things are happening, but here's the thing: it's by seniority. If they have an uptick in freight, right, for seasonal stuff, your patio sets, your concrete, your let's say one of these companies that are doing their outside trampolines and their outside basketball goals, their patio chairs, the umbrellas, all that stuff that goes in the patio, the rocks, the bricks, the dirt, the soil, the topsoil, all that stuff that's seasonal, because people start getting their gardens and stuff. This is the reason why they do massive hiring, all right, for that, which is going to be the busy season: March, April, May, June, July, August, September. After that, it goes down, and then that's when the freight starts going down. They start laying off. There's still freight being moved, but those guys that are going to remain are the guys that have seniority. Those are the guys that are going to remain, because it is it's a 12-month contract. But once you take all that seasonal freight out of the mix, it's just typical stuff that these stores sell in store all year long. You want to get in early. You don't want to be the guy who waits and then goes back and look at my videos in March and April, May, and you get hired on because they need you to meet the seasonal demand. But the guy who applied in February, when they started hiring early to meet the seasonal demand as it starts in March, he's closer to the top of the totem pole. People are going to be coming in and coming out. And as those people come in and come out, the people who get in early continue to move up the seniority, so that when end of September is over with and there's no more shipment for topsoil and dirt and rocks and concrete and patio sets and patio tables and gazebos and mosquito screens and what's those things that you stick in the ground when you light it and it keeps the mosquitoes, all that outside stuff that people do around their yard. Once that shit is over with in September, freight is going to go down, and the only thing that they're going to be pushing out is shit that's in the store. So when the spring and summer season comes around, they may need an additional 10 trucks in that facility to meet seasonal demand. So they bring in 10 more owner operators, right? Boom. And then once that seasonal demand is over with, it's 10 routes they got to go. Just because you came in on the ass end in February to be there to begin to meet seasonal demand as it starts pushing in, you probably have moved up the totem pole. So now when they got to cut 10 trucks, let's say in September, shoot, you up there. It's the people that come in on the ass end or in the middle, right, in June to meet seasonal demand, right? And they thinking it's sweet. Yeah, I'm doing 800 a day. I'm doing 20 stops. I'm in there 4 or 5 hours. And I'm making 800 a day. And they thinking the sweet is going to last, and it's not. So now it's the time to start making those point of contacts and start bugging these people and trying to get on the onboard process. It's November. December is going to come by like that. January, February, they're going to start onboarding people. Why? Because seasonal stuff starts shipping in end of February, March. People start planting their gardens and all that stuff. Spring cleaner, spring break, April. And then it's on and popping from there. some people don't wait to the end. Some people start ordering their stuff as early February for delivery in March. So now is the time because they're going to start hiring people in February going into March. And you want to be in there, all right? 2024 is going to be the same as 2023. All right? A lot of you guys that's running OTR want to come off the road anyway. So now is the time. Now is the time. T4s, RNL carriers, US PAC, the same list that I always give you guys. All right, all those contracts you want to start getting in early. Capstone, and you want to make sure that when you start reaching out to these places, you want to let them know you're not looking for big and bulky. All right, there's two different modes of final mile with your 26-foot box truck. You got curbside. You got big and bulky. Big and bulky is going to be your furniture and your appliances. This is the stuff that I was doing. All right. Furniture and appliances. All right. You're going to need 2 to 3 people on a truck to do that. If that's not how you're set up, then you want to do curbside where you're doing palletized freight and you're dropping it at the curb. All right. And those routes usually pay somewhere 700 up to 1,000 and over a day, depending on the market, depending on the stops. All right. What else do we want to talk about? I think did I cover everything? Yeah, I think I did. I covered everything. So, also freight is hiring for 26-foot box trucks. It's not for dedicated. It's for on demand. All right. It's for on demand, but they are hiring in some markets. All right. For on demand box truck runs. I think they're starting to kind of go in the footsteps of GoShare, and they're getting direct contracts with retailers. All right. These retailers are in a war to win over the consumer. It's just like I talk about all the time with moving, right? And even like for final mile, when you're in a warehouse and you're dealing with other independent contractors. I gave you my story on how I leveraged myself by having a fleet of trucks and being able to prey on the independent contractors to get the routes that I want. Same thing with moving. If you're moving and a customer is moving and they're in your city, they're looking for a mover. Every single moving company is competing for that one customer, right? So it's an aggressive market and you got to do whatever you got to do. It's dog eat dog. Same thing with these retailers, right? The more people get lazy and don't want to go into the store, right? They're buying things from the computer. They're buying things from their phone, right? And ultimately, one of the deal breakers on where a consumer is going to actually buy something from mostly depends on the turnaround time. It mostly depends. A customer will be willing to spend an extra 10, 20, 30 bucks at this store to get the same item than this store if this store can get it to them a day earlier or the same day. Right? With these companies dealing with 3PLs, the 3PL infrastructure isn't set up to do on demand like that. Right? They're just not set up to do on demand like that. They're just not, right? It's easier to do satellite fulfillment, right, in the store for some items, and a carrier can partner with an app, right? The app will build out the app, and they'll handle all the API coding behind the scenes. That if a person buys something at Lowe's and they want it same day, if they order it early enough, instead of it coming from a 3PL, they're working with the app, let's say Freight or GoShare. They'll get the ping. They'll see which driver's in the area that has the app turned on. They'll ping it. They'll send them to the nearest Lowe's to pick up the, whatever it is, the toilet seat. And then they'll deliver it. They're picking it up straight from the store. Why? Because it's quicker and the turnaround is quicker, right? Versus a person waiting a whole day or two, all right? And that's how they're winning over the customer. It's a race to get the customer whatever they're ordering delivered to them the quickest, because that's who's going to make the sale. right? So a lot of these retailers are now starting to partner with apps because they understand what's going on. We need to get the items to the customer the quickest. That's how we're going to win over the consumer, and that's how we're going to increase our bottom line. We're going to make more money. All right. So I think freight is starting to partner with some retailers. That's why they're looking for box trucks to do some on-demand work. So go sign up with them too. It doesn't hurt if they're hiring in your market. It doesn't hurt to have, them in your back pocket. Let's see here. Rashawn, what's going on? What's up, Tony? How you feeling, man? Detroit in the building. All right. Mark, I truly think as long as the market remains oversaturated, the competition for load still will be fierce for owner ops, at least with the exception for mega carriers. All right, so that you're right. As long as the capacity is still at an overabundance, right? So it's supply and demand, right? Demand is down, but not only is demand down, it's really down, and you still have an oversaturation of capacity, an overabundance, I should say, not oversaturation. Let's say an overabundance of capacity, right? But we're going to start seeing more of an exodus. We're seeing it now. I said it was going to happen in Q4, going into Q1 of 2024. You're going to have a lot of carriers drop out this month. You're going to have even more carriers drop out next month. All right. And then it's going to continue into Q1. You got a lot of people holding on, but you're going to see more people fall off. That'll help it out a little bit, but I don't think it's going to be significant enough to drive up rates because people just aren't spending money on goods, as I've been saying for most of the year. And now the professional analysts with these freight forwarder companies are saying as well. So we need people to start buying. If people start buying more goods, then the capacity that's available, it doesn't matter because the capacity is there and people, the freight will be able to meet the capacity. We need people to start buying stuff. If I were looking at this thing, right, I would say, okay, if I had to weigh it, would I want more people to drop out, right? Or would I want freight to increase? I would say, you know what? We want to push freight to increase. I wouldn't prey on more people falling off. I would prey on more freight increasing. That's what I'm trying to say. But I don't think enough people are going to drop out of the race to make a significant what's the word I'm looking for? I don't think enough people are going to fall off to make it turn around and make rates go up. It's just people aren't spending money, man. People aren't spending money. We need more volume to be increased than people dropping out. So, but yeah, supply and demand, that's the name of the game. And that's ultimately what, controls the market. So, say India is the new China. In what aspect? Technology? DJ Rodney, in what aspect? Technology? I would say India is the new China as far as technology is concerned. I would definitely agree with you on that. Actually, when I built 2 apps in 2019. I had an idea to build an app, and I hired a developer to build it out of India because it obviously was cheaper. It still cost me a hell of a lot of money. The apps failed, right? I started an app company. The apps failed. They might have would have took off, but I didn't want to keep dumping money into Apple and to Google Play to market them. So after 6 months, I just called it quits. I just cut my losses and called it quit. But when I was searching for a developer, majority of the developers that I was searching for outside of the US were in India. So Big Herm says the election will be the tail of the tape for determining that factor. I think the election will change the sentiment right? I think the election will change the sentiment. Make sure y'all hit that like button for me, please. Hit that like button. I think the election will change the sentiment, right? I think if Trump wins, I think the majority people, right, the sentiment would change to, bright sunny days versus if Biden wins. I understand that just because he wins, I know that things aren't going to change the next day. It's just not, it doesn't happen like that, because his biggest job now is fixing relationships. He has to fix the relationship with China. He has to fix the relationship with Putin. Now, he says if he wins, he says the situation with Putin, the day he gets inaugurated, and these are his words, verbatim, the day he gets inaugurated, January 21st, I believe, 2025, if he wins, he said that problem with Putin will be fixed in 24 hours, the war will be over. That's what he says. Now, the situation with China, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? So things aren't going to go back to where they were, you know what I'm saying? And also, I think a lot of people are just naive. I think if they think if he wins, he's going to give out free money or something. Like, I think people literally think that. And that's not going to happen. All right. I think smart people that are business-minded people, they want him to win because they're going to parallel their business to him. That's kind of what I did. I know he's a businessman. I know he's going to set things up to benefit him. And that's why I set my business up to kind of parallel things that he was doing, stocks and things like that. Right. So, I don't know. I think from what the polls are saying, majority, he's winning. He's winning right now as far as the polls, as far as what people are saying who they're going to vote for. But you never know what's going to happen. So who knows? You said manufacturing. Let me see. What company? So it's a smart thing to do to stay a company driver right now. You sound like a CDL driver. I can't really answer that for you. You know what I'm saying? I've never done CDL trucking. Now, what I can tell you, the only thing I can tell you is from my homies, right? And what I see here from my homies that drive trucks, CDL. The ones that are company drivers, they work for mega carriers locally, not OTR. But you got to remember, I'm in a hub. I'm in Chicago. So they're running intermodal containers, So they can do that all day here. I don't know what other markets look like, but the company drivers are winning. You got some people that are owner operators, they're not doing so good because they run into one problem. It's a lot of money. It's a lot of money for maintenance. It's a hassle right now. So I don't want to answer that question for you. You know what I'm saying? I don't want to make that decision for you because I've never done it. I can only go based off, tell you what I've seen from the people that I know that I have a close relationship to in my market. If I were coming into the space, let's say as a CDL driver, I would probably be a company driver. That's me personally. I would probably just be a company driver. But if I were to get into the space now, let's say I was to vamp back up in logistics, I would probably start a cargo van business more so than a trucking business right now. But that's just me. To each his own. I'm just telling you what I would do. Don't listen to me. Don't do what I do. Do your own research. I'm just telling you what I would do. So, I think specials driving like hazmat, concrete delivery are doing well. Also food delivery and beverage delivery, but you gotta bust your ass. Yeah, so those Cisco drivers, they be working. And Mr. Mark, is it possible that commercial vehicles like box truck or cargo vans will cut prices in the next 6 months because prices are expensive. Well, prices are cheaper than they were last year and the year prior. That all depends on the supply and demand. If less people start going out buying cargo vans and trucks, yeah, they'll continue to lower the prices. If people are still buying them, or if more people start to buy them, then obviously they'll increase, right? And that also depends on the inventory as well. From what I see, the inventory has been building. If like you looked at some of these websites a year ago, like let's say Penske used trucks. Let me pull it up. Let's see. Let's see. Let's see. 20, 50 miles. Let's see. And let's do price lowest. I just want to see how many pages they got. Well, it's not gonna let me know. All right, so compared to like looking at trucks last year, it's a lot more trucks on the market right now. So and they got trucks at really, really low prices. So now obviously, some of these trucks, like these are level 3 trucks. Level 3, level 3, level 3, level 3, level 2, level 2, level 3, level 2, level 2. So, but in comparison to 6 months ago, this is a lot more trucks that they have priced out under 20,000 than they did 6 months prior to that, than they did 6 months prior to that. So prices are dropping. So, the less demand, like the less demand for trucks, yeah, prices will continue to go down. The more inventory they have, it's going to drive prices down. So if inventory keeps coming in and nobody's coming in to buy the inventory, they're going to lower the prices to attract people to come in and buy trucks. So if the economy continues to go in the rate that it's going, rates go up, then people aren't going to come in and buy trucks. So these trucks, a person can come in and buy cash though. Ain't nobody financing this. Ain't nobody financing 13. Ain't nobody financing 17. Ain't nobody financing 19, 18. But I know who these trucks are for. I'm just not going to say it. I know who's going to buy these trucks. I know the type of individual that's going to buy these trucks. These trucks are going to sell. All right. So to be honest with you, if I scroll down, let's say scroll down to some level 1 trucks. $2015. Like even these 2015s, 29, it's a lot of trucks from $10,000 to $30,000 now. It wasn't like this 6 months ago. Level 2. Level 2. 2016. Level 2s. 2016. All these internationals. They got a lot of trucks. I'm not a fan of international, but to be honest with you, these are some pretty good rates. I'm going to be honest with you. These are about pre-pandemic rates, to be honest with you. These are about pre-pandemic rates. So, I don't see it getting any much more better than this, to be honest with you. And you talking to a guy who's bought plenty of trucks in his day, and these are pre-pandemic rates. I'm talking about pre-pandemic, like 2018. I'm not talking about like 2019. I'm talking about like 2017, 2018. You were getting 26-foot box trucks with these types of miles, with those years old, for about $25,000 to $40,000. So, I don't know how much more lower you want them to go. So a person who's going out looking for a truck right now, these prices is pretty cheap. 2018 Freightliner 40 thou wow. I mean, like, these are pretty good rates. So, but you know, it's up to you. Wait till you get to an extended. Now, as far as the cargo vans, I haven't looked at cargo vans. I haven't looked at cargo van prices. But the trucks are very, very low because ain't nobody buying trucks right now, right? You're gonna pay more on a commercial loan than you're gonna pay going out buying yourself a car, and that's another reason people just don't have the money, and it's harder to get approved right now for a loan. The banks are tightening up. You got unprecedented repossessions right now, right, due to the pandemic, right, because the finance companies were approving people on automobiles, right, whether they were personal vehicles or commercial vehicles that they would have normally not approved or not approved for certain types of vehicles if we weren't in the pandemic. You had people that would probably in typical circumstances go into a Chevy dealership and would probably only get approved for a Malibu, but during the pandemic, they were getting approved for a damn Tahoe. You know what I'm saying? The finance companies were looking at the stimulus money, all the stimulus money, whether it was the stimulus payments, whether it was the PPP, the EIDL, the money that people were getting for their children, the unemployment, the PUA, they were looking at that as income. And I don't know why they did that, because that wasn't going to last forever. And then when it stopped, you had all these people that had Hellcats that typically couldn't afford them. You had the person who, in normal circumstances, would only get approved for a Malibu, but they drove off the lot in a Tahoe, and not just a basic Tahoe. They gave them an LTZ Premier. You know what I'm saying? And now instead of a $600, let's say, Malibu car note, right, or $500 Malibu car note, whatever it would be, right, they're paying $1,000, $1,100, or $1,200 for a Tahoe, and then they paying another $250 for insurance. They paying $1,350, and they can't afford a $1,350 car note. You know what I'm saying? So now that's why you got unprecedented reproductions. They said repossessions. They said the repossession is so bad, people just clean the cars out and parking them on the curb abandoned so that they can come get the damn car. You know? So same thing with the box trucks. You had a lot of people that were getting box trucks because they ran into a large lump sum of money. We've seen some situations similar to that in the testimonials. If you watch the testimonial series, some of the things you saw people do to get a box truck. One particular person took out a payday loan on his personal vehicle and then took out an egregious loan with a third-party lender for 20-something, 30-something percent. So he's paying back the payday lender to get the down payment to pay to buy the damn truck at an egregious interest rate. So now the payday people holding this title, you got to pay them back $20,000, and then you got the interest loan for the truck that you got the $20,000 from the payday loan for your title to get them to buy $80,000 truck and pay whatever $1,800 a month. This is what people were doing during the pandemic, and I'm not making this up. I'm not making this example up. You go look at testimonials, episode 2. That individual did that, all to get into the box truck game. And that individual wasn't the only one. A bunch of people did similar things. Now, I don't know how that individual situation is. I haven't spoken to him, but a lot of these trucks you see were pandemic trucks that probably have been repossessed or given back. Why? Because these trucks that you now see for $38,000, $36,000, $35,000, $32,000, $31,000, $30,000, all the way down to $13,000, $12,500, $1,700. These trucks were $60,000 to $100,000 a year and a half ago. These same trucks. And now look what a year and a half has done. This truck This $38,000 truck, or this $40,000 truck, I swear to God, a 2018 Freightliner, and anybody that was looking for a truck in 2021, a 28 Freightliner, they were trying to get $85,000, $90,000 for this same truck a year and a half ago. $80,000 they were trying to get for this same truck a year and a half ago. And now look, they want $40,000 for it. Save $5,000 on select medium duty trucks. Save an additional $2,000 with financing with Premier Financing. Was $45,000 and dropped it down to $40,000. Because ain't nobody buying trucks. They ain't got the money and they can't get approved because the banks are making it hard to approve people. Why? Because they took enough losses. So, you said, yeah, that was a ridiculous price. Back to reality. Yeah, those trucks were $80,000. Go look on, it's a website called the Wayback Machine, right? So with the Wayback Machine, you can go look at any website from years prior. So the way that website was in that particular year, whatever particular month you put, you will be able to see what that website looked on whatever particular month. And these trucks, like this 2018, I swear to God, these trucks were going for $80,000. All day long, 85, 90. So somebody who bought this the beginning of 2022, or let's say April of 2022, they bought it for $80,000, $85,000. They're paying an egregious amount of money on the note. They're paying an egregious amount of money on the insurance. And now this truck is half that. This truck is so cheap now that if you got a bag, you can just walk in there and cash out. I'll go in there and say, man, I'll give you 30 right now. 32 right now. Write a check for 32. And they'll probably go. Why? Because they're not selling nothing, because they got an overabundance of inventory. I mean, God damn it. They got trucks for $12,500. One of the migrants that's done come over here in 2 or 3 years after he's get his citizenship, he's got his work permit, he's done did what he's needed to do, he's done saved up enough money, that's who's going to go get this truck, because he's going to be able to maintain it. He's not going to take it to the shop. He's going to get up under that hood because he knows how to do all this stuff himself. That's who's going to buy this truck. Or someone who ain't worried about the powertrain, because they saying, well, if I got to put another 10 into it, I'm only 22.5 in. If I got to put another 10, 15,000 under the hood, I'm 22.5 to 28,000 in. So somebody who got cash on hand, they rather go do that than jump out the window and even go do 40,000. So it all depends on the situation. Each individual person's situation is different. A person who's mechanically inclined don't really care. You know, so you got trucks for 12.5, 13,000. Even a year and a half ago, even this level 3 truck that they want 12, first of all, it wouldn't be up here because you couldn't find trucks. But they probably would have wanted 40-some thousand for this truck. They were asking $50,000 for trucks with 400-some thousand miles on them a year ago. Go look on the Wayback Machine and you'll see. So this is a further testament right here to let you know where the market is at. They have an oversupply of trucks, and the truck prices are ridiculously low in comparison to where they were even this time last year. Go look on the Wayback Machine to this time last year. The prices were probably $15,000 to $20,000 higher than what you see now for those trucks. And there was less trucks available. All right. So the inventory is increasing, which is driving down the rates. Nobody's coming. A lot of people can't even get approved for loans right now. He said, damn, those are cheaper than the Transits right now. All right. So let's talk about that. Pickup trucks and commercial cargo vans hold their value exceptionally well. Exceptionally well. Always have. Always have. All right. pickup trucks and work cargo vans, they hold their value really, really well. So this further lets me know that the market is correcting itself, right? Because box trucks, in a lot of cases pre-pandemic, even when I was building my fleet, 2012, 2013, 2014, was the same thing, right? There was a demand for box trucks in the pandemic, which skyrocketed the prices, right? But, prior to the pandemic, you could get a 16-foot box truck, and in some cases, a 26-foot box truck for cheaper than a cargo van. I bought a cargo van in 2015, brand new, $28,000, right? The reason why I bought the new cargo van is because I wanted to buy a used one. But when I was looking at the used ones, they were 22, 23, 175, 180,000 miles, 5-6 years old. But the new cargo van was 28. I might as well spend an extra $6,000 and get something brand new with a warranty. That's why I opted for a new cargo van back then when I had bought a cargo van versus the used one. It just made more sense, you know what I'm saying, from a business perspective. But yeah, it's always been like that. Cargo vans hold their value really, 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 really well. And so do pickup trucks. You said put 50% down, but a lot of people don't have 50%. And if they do have 50%, they're keeping their cash. They're not going to take a risk on something like that because let's say 50% on 40,000 is 20,000. How many people are going to part with 20,000 right now on this same risk now versus a year and a half, 2 years ago? A person will have been more apt to part with that 20 grand on that risk 2 years ago than they would now. Why? Because the hype was built around it then. There's no hype built around it now. It's actually the sentiment is lower. People are kind of trashing the industry. So now a person is putting more thought into it because if they go to a place like, let's say, Instagram, or they go to YouTube and they start searching, they're looking at YouTube videos that are saying one thing. They're looking at basic general information YouTube videos about box trucking. And then they're seeing a bunch of videos that saying I quit or I'm out, I failed, or it's trash, right? Versus 2021 when skies were blue and everyone's saying it was the greatest thing. You had Bandman Kevo up here telling people they was going to make $1 million with one box truck. And a person would have been just more quick to just part with that 20,000 then if they had it versus if they had it now. It's more of a risk now. 2, I'm 22, starting a box truck company. I've been getting quotes on insurance from a lot of different brokers, but they're all telling me Progressive is the only rate I can get at $2,500 a month. All right, so this is something that I tell a lot of people. How you say you're 22, so tell your broker to shop you a little bit harder, or see if you can find another broker and see what they say. Get a second opinion. There's plenty of insurance companies out there now. I don't know if they're telling you that because of your age. You know what I'm saying? I don't know if they're telling you that because of your age. And if that's the case, then, there's nothing you can do about it. Maybe some of these insurance companies don't want to write up a policy for someone that's 22, right? Because it's a lot of liability. They have liabilities with the truck. They got liability with the freight, right? And then being 22, and I'm just being honest with you, you're liable. It's just like your personal vehicle. Your rates kind of go down a little bit when you turn 25 because people that are 25 are known to be irresponsible drivers, right? Because you're still kind of new driving, then you're behind a large commercial vehicle, and then you hauling freight, you got weight. So that may be a situation where some of the insurance companies may not want to write the policy because you're not 25. So I would have a conversation with them to see why is Progressive the only one that's willing to write up a policy for you. If you want, get a second opinion from another broker, see if they can shop you around. There's plenty of other insurance companies, but I get a second opinion. I have a real conversation with the broker to get a real reasoning why they're just steering you only towards Progressive. Your rate is going to be high though. I can tell you this now. That $2,500, that's because you're 22 years old. Do I think rental companies are suffering because lots are full of vehicles? No, I don't think they're suffering at all. And the reason why is because they had 3 record years, 2020, 2021, 22 record years, 2021 and 2022. They did record number years. So the money that they made those 2 years, obviously sales are probably down this year, but they did so much money from the gouging that they did in 2021, 2022, whatever, right? Enterprise opened up more branches in 2022 because of the overabundance of money that they did. They're celebrating this year for the past 2 record years. They're still celebrating for the money that they made in 2021 and 2022. So no. And they're not sourcing trucks like they were prior to the pandemic, right? Because manufacturing hasn't fully picked up. There's still a semiconductor issue, right? So that's kind of slowed manufacturing down too. So no, I don't think they're suffering. They're cold calling, right? Penske cold calls me once a week, right? But for the most part, I don't think they're suffering financially. No, not a bit, because they still have their contracts with big major companies. Big major companies, like, for instance, when Lollapalooza comes to town every year, right? They go to Enterprise, they may get 30 trucks, 40 trucks, whatever. So every year they start sourcing those trucks for when they come to town, because they know they're going to need them, because they got a contract with them every single year, right? They make a lot of money there. They just don't depend on the independent owner operators. And then these companies also have leasing programs. They lease to a lot of big companies. So they have another business structure parallel to just renting trucks to household customers or independent contractors, right? Their leasing company does good. So, no, they're fine. Waiting to have the housing market corrected. I think the market is definitely going to get corrected in housing. Like I say all the time, I don't think it's going to be similar to 2008, but it's definitely going to be a correction there. You know what I'm saying? Another thing, I don't think we'll ever see 2 or 3% interest rates. I think we'll probably settle back down somewhere probably around 5. We may not even get back to 4. You know what I'm saying? But I think those 2 and 2.7, 2.8, definitely no 3.5, 3 point this, 3 anything. I don't think we're going to get back there. 4, I think when things do start to correct themselves and go back down, I think we'll probably settle somewhere around the 5% range for housing. Let me see. Did you see the story about JB Hunt adding more train cars to transport more containers in the middle mile? Yeah, I knew about that earlier this year. I talked to some executives earlier this year, and that was one of the things that they were talking to me about they purchased a bunch more containers. Yep. Mark, I had the same problem with insurance as a new MC. Current market conditions, Progressive was only one to take me at $2,000 a month. Also, brokers blacklisting MCs under 6 months. Trucks sitting 2 weeks. So I had a conversation about maybe 3 weeks ago with my broker, and he told me something. And the reason I haven't shared it is because I don't, he's been a broker for over 30 years, Farmers Insurance, right? And he shared something with me. I haven't really talked about it because I don't want to say it's not true or it is true or it isn't true. I trust his judgment. I just know that when I speak on certain things, people get upset. They get their panties in a bunch. And I just don't want to talk about it. It's a reason why the market, from what the insurance brokers are saying, there's a reason why insurance rates are high. All right. It has a lot to do with, the market conditions and stuff like that. But there's another variable that has driven up insurance rates. You know what? Fuck it. I'll just say. So, having a conversation with my broker, and we were talking about insurance, right? And he said, a lot of people can't afford the insurance. He said Amazon has really messed insurance up for carriers. And I said, how so? He said the market share. The market share. All right. So what a lot of people who are in trucking may not know, a lot of the mega carriers, the big rental companies, all these companies are self-insured. All right. You can get to a point where you just become too big to the point where you have to become self-insured, right? Amazon is pretty much at that point, right? But they're not self-insured, right? They deal with contractors, so on and so forth. So because of how big they are, and they have a magnitude of independent owner operators that are coming running freight for them, from the box truck side to the cargo van side to the semi truck side, you would think they'd create their own insurance company and they have their independent owner operators get insurance through their company, right? But they don't, right? So because of the freight and the market share that Amazon has, you guys read the same stories that I read. All right. So we don't have to go down the laundry list of every day there's an Amazon van or semi truck or box truck or whatever getting into some type of accident, running over a cat. I've read stories from running over, killing cats and dogs in people's driveway. Obviously, people have been killed, so on and so forth, right? And obviously, when lawsuits and shit start flying, it hits the insurance company, right? And this is what's driving up the rate because they have so much market share. There's so many people running for Amazon and there's so many occurrences, it's pushing the insurance rates up. That's a variable that is helping to push insurance rates up. I'm just passing information along. It makes sense when you think about it, though. Any other big company is self-insured or they have their own insurance in place that their contractors can go through. Rental companies, U-Haul, they have their own insurance company. They're self-insured. Ryder, Enterprise, Penske, J.B. Hunt, Schneider, UPS, FedEx. All these companies are self-insured. Why? Because they're too big that they have to self-insure. But then when you have a company like Amazon that relies solely on contractors, and Amazon doesn't have an insurance company within their network that their contractors can run through, they have to outsource to third parties. And because they suck up so much of the market, it's just inevitable. Shit is happening every single day. It doesn't necessarily have to be an accident. It could be other variations of claims. So when these insurance companies are looking at the claims that came inbound every day, a large portion of them have to do with Amazon, some way, shape, form, or fashion. So hit that like button, hit that like button, hit that like button. So let me see. Yeah, I talked about it one time and I never talked about it again. So, but that's something my broker said. So I believe him. He's been a broker for over 30 years with farmers. So I put people that subscribe to me that have asked me to help them out with insurance. I've put them in contact with him. So, he's always done me right. And he's a guy that's very knowledgeable. Like a lot of people I talked to as far as insurance didn't know that you don't have to have the same insurance for everything. Like, people who sign up for insurance and they have Progressive for everything or this company for everything. No, that's why you got to find a good broker. And this is why my broker has always been great, because I remember when Grange didn't renew us. They didn't drop us. They just didn't renew us. And for some reason, they didn't give notice until very late that they weren't going to pick the policy back up after 2 or 3 years of dealing with them. Grange was the first company I had. And I think they didn't let the broker know maybe like 3 weeks prior to renewing the policy. And he was like, man, Grange is not renewing. And we talked about it. Why? He's like, I don't know if I'm going to have enough time to shop you. For those that don't know, shopping you is shopping your company on the market. Your broker's job is to take your profile. They have a profile on your company. You know, how many trucks you run, the drivers, the MVR reports, so on and so forth. And they send it out to different insurance companies that shop you, right? The insurance companies look at the profile and they send a proposal back to the broker. All right, we'll take them on for this much. We'll take them on for that much. We'll take this on for this much. We'll take this on for that much. The broker's job is ultimately to get you the best rates. What a lazy broker will do is just go sign you up with Progressive. Why? Because it's simple, easy. They can have it done in 10, 15 minutes, right? A good broker is going to shop you. So once he shops you on the market, everything comes back. He starts to look. Okay, you got Mercury, you got Grange, you got Firebird, you got National Fire and Liability, you got Mercury, you got so on and so forth. Progressive, whatever. This is how much this company is going to write up the whole policy. This is how much this company, this is how much this company. But you know what? I noticed that Acuity only wants this much just for general liability. They only want this much for commercial auto. And National Fire and Liability just want this much for that. So instead of just taking a complete quote from a company, after Grange didn't renew me, I had to go with Progressive for 1 year. He said, man, I'm not going to have enough time to shop you because once they send you out, you got to wait for those quotes to go back, and he has to do his magic with what I'm talking about. So he's like, it's not enough time. It usually takes about a month, all right? So he's like, you got to go with Progressive for a year. It's going to be high. I spent $50,000 that year on insurance, right, for the fleet, right? It was very high. It would have been higher if I was interstate. By that time, I had transitioned from interstate to intrastate, right? So my insurance wasn't as high as it would have been if I was still interstate. I was intrastate at this point, right? So I ran with Progressive for a year. It was $50,000, and my policy renewed in June. So in April of the following year, he started shopping me. So we went with Acuity for general liability. We went with Mercury for commercial auto and National Fire and Liability. And this is how he was able to save me an overabundance of money by going with 3 different insurance companies for each policy, instead of just dealing with one in-house for everything. But that's the sign of a good commercial insurance broker, someone that's willing to work with their customer to give you the best savings, right? So always shop around. I hate when brokers just try to push Progressive onto people because there's a lot of other alternatives out there, but you just really got to have an insurance broker that's really willing to work with you. I can only refer to people to my broker if you live in Illinois because he's only licensed here in Illinois. All right. So you got to find a good broker. Say insurance is high of claims and cost of materials along with inflation and used cars. So claims is one of the variables. A lot of claims due to a lot of the incompetence of new entrants into the space during the pandemic. You had a lot of new entrants, and when I say new entrants, obviously if you're a new business owner, you're a new entrant. There was a difference of new entrants in comparison to just typical times. A person that's entering into the business now, let's say, they may not be seasoned, but they're a little bit more conscientious of what they're doing. They're a little bit more professional. They're paying a little bit more attention. Why? Because it's a little bit tighter now. The people who are entering now, they're entering with money that they've earned, they've worked hard for, right? Not money that was given to them, right? the person who was entering into the space during the pandemic was a person who was not as professional. And this is not for everybody. All right. This is not, if the shoe doesn't fit, don't wear it. But it's obvious now. We can talk about it. You know what I'm saying? A lot of those people that entered, they just weren't business-minded people. They didn't do their due diligence. They didn't formulate a business plan. They didn't do a lot of the things that a typical person who's investing into a business would do. They watched a YouTube video. They watched an Instagram reel. They had this infusion of capital provided by the federal government, right? And they wanted to boss up, and box trucking was one of the most promoted things, and they thought it would be simple. And when they did come in, they did make a lot of money. Why? Because volume was high and rates were high. And they just thought that was the way it was supposed to be, and that's just how it typically was. And then the rug got pulled from under them. So, with those people that entered then, when things started to shift, you had a lot of people not do the right thing. They were running, not paying the insurance company. Their cars were getting declined. You had a lot of trucks on the hot sheet. You had a lot of trucks found on the side of the road, trashed. You had a lot of stolen freight. You had a lot of abandoned freight. So there was a lot of claims. All right. Which ultimately changed the landscape of even renting a box truck. Now, back in my day, it was simple as, hey, want to rent a box truck. It's the name of my company. And that was it. They create a profile for you, the name of your company, your address, your phone number. Simple as that. I swear that it was that simple. $450, $500, 14, 13, 12 cents a mile. No down payment, no deposit. You pay for the first week up front. They walk you out. You do a walk around inspection of the truck. You see anything that's not marked on the thing? Yeah. Oh, well, there's an X by it already. Oh, okay, cool. Sign here. Simple as that. It was nothing else to it. If it was $450, taxes all in, and they give you 1,500 free miles a week. They swipe your card for $450. All right, Mark, I'm going to call you next Friday. Since it's Friday, we're going to call you next Friday. And I'll ask for authorization before we run. They would even call you and ask, was it okay to run your card? This how it was back then. Now, I've heard things from people where that you got to be in business 2 years. You got to have a brick and mortar. You got to put 10,000 down. You got to put 8,000 down. You got to put 5,000 down. They want some type of collateral. Why? Because people that came into the space during the pandemic changed the landscape. You had a lot of unprofessional people. It'll never be the same again, which has made it harder for a new entrant. A new entrant, let's say the pandemic didn't happen, it would be as simple, whatever the current market value of renting a truck would be. If let's say it was $650, just literally, they're going to swipe your card for the first week and call you 7 days later to charge you for the upcoming week. So on and so forth. Simple as that. So the pandemic changed a lot, man. It changed a lot. Changed a lot. About a month. It took my broker about a month. So also, they started out wrong, started big with box trucks, then got a downside to event. That's something that we talk about now, but let's be honest. I came on YouTube April of 2022. And, the backlash that I got all last year, you wouldn't have been able to tell people that. People had it in their minds that they wanted a box truck. If you got an overabundance of people telling people this is the greatest thing that God has created was the box truck business, And then you got one lowly guy that's saying, you know what? You know, inflation is going to follow up. Consumer buying behavior has shifted. I did a video on the box truck bubble. I paralleled the box truck business, and all this shit is up. So it ain't cap. You go look at this shit. I did a really, really creative video last year where I compared the box truck industry at that time to a bubble. I broke down the 5 stages of a bubble, and stage 3 of a bubble was euphoria. Everybody was in a euphoric phase, which is why no one listened. Everybody was excited and happy, and it was just this time where money was flowing, and you couldn't tell a person anything but they were going to make $1 million in a box truck because you had guys telling them that. People that had never even been in the box truck business or the trucking business or the cargo van business or any type of business centered around logistics. But this is the people that they listen to, or people who had just entered into the business themselves and just didn't have a full understanding of the business because they came in during the pandemic and they created a YouTube channel, which a lot of those people aren't here anymore. And didn't have a full understanding of business because they never ran a business before. Or they hadn't been in business long enough to understand the economies of scale. So even if a person like me would have told people that, they wouldn't have listened to me no way. Even after being on YouTube for 1.5 years with a flawless record of forecasting things way down the line, before the news even puts the shit out, people still don't listen. So what I've come to understand and realize is that, look, the people who accept and receive the information, great. The ones that don't, they don't have to. I come on here twice, maybe 2-3 times a week. I talk for somewhere between 1 hour to 5 hours, depending. And I just spit information that I've gotten over the years since 2010. Looking at a transmitter or whatever, the teleprompter, I'm telling you based off experience. That's why I can sit here and just talk, because I've done this for a long time. And this is why I don't lead people down astray, and this is why people don't say, man, Mark said this, or no. And I can tell you all this stuff for free because I've done it already. So it wouldn't have mattered no way. You can't, when a person is in a euphoric phase of a bubble, man, ain't nothing you can tell them. It's the same as a person who is in a stock bubble, right? Those are the people that seasoned people who play the market prey on. Why? Buy the rumor, sell the news. You're the person who's buying into the hype. You're the person who's buying into the hype. And when things get hype, right? When there's hype around something, a smart investor, a smart business person knows one thing: the real money has already been made. But a person who doesn't know business, who's not seasoned, they wouldn't know that. They're buying into the hype. Dogecoin, Shiba Inu, the stock market, the box truck business. You're buying in at the height. If it's popularized and everybody's talking about it, that's usually the top. And that's when smart money starts to divest. Why? Because a rug pull is about to happen. When people are greedy, you should be fearful. When people are fearful, you should be greedy. People are fearful now. That's why I'm greedy. That's why I'm accumulating every single day. So when things get bullish again, right, I'll be divesting on my way to the top. And then when things get hyped up again, I'll fully exit my positions and then leave suckers or bag holders holding the bag. When people are greedy, you should be fearful. When people are fearful, you should be greedy. When people were being greedy, I was fearful. Why? No one wanted to work anymore. I got trucks sitting. Okay, I made my money. Trucks are expensive now. I can divest, make money off the trucks, and say, you know what? My 2025 exit has now turned into 2022, into 2022. Fine. People were greedy, and me being smart, I just followed the play. People are greedy, so I'm fearful, which I was. I was scared to death. I didn't know what was going on, but I saw an opportunity and I took it. If I wouldn't have taken the opportunity, I would be screwed right now. I would have paid off assets that still no one wants to work. So I followed the simple rules of business. Now people are fearful because no one has money. This is when people who have cash on hand are greedy. I'm greedy. I'm accumulating. I'm looking forward to industries crashing, like I think DJ said about the housing market. It won't be like 2008. And that's how I think people should look at business. But a lot of people were novice. So for people that's listening now, when things are hyped up, you might want to think about it before you jump in, because that just may be the top. The real money has already been made. And the individual that's buying now is a sucker. We can even compare it to the rental truck. I mean, the trucks. Look at these prices now in comparison to where they were just even a year ago, a year and a half ago. These same trucks, $85,000, $70,000. Now look at these prices. People bought at the top. Somebody bought this truck a year ago for $65,000, $70,000. Now look at it. Bought into the hype. Now you're paying $1,800 a month. When that same $20,000 that he took to put the down payment, he could have took a portion of that and had his note probably 60% less. $30,000, he paying less than $1,000. Well, probably not with interest rates. Now he paying somewhere around $1,000 a month, maybe, depending on the interest rate. Prior to the pandemic, $30,000, you're looking at a $600 note. But the person who bought this at the height, during the hype, because they were in a euphoric phase, is paying an $1,800 note. And he's looking at this same truck that he bought with similar miles the same year for $40,000, $50,000 less. He's kicking himself. The rug got pulled. Demand was high, supply was low. They raised the prices. But that's a decision that a business person has to make. What do I always say about being a good business person? It's problem solving. This is a problem you got to solve prior to you getting in. Smart business person, look, I understand what's going on right now. I understand these prices are high. Do I wait or do I get in? If I get in, I'm paying for a truck that's twice, 2-3 times the amount that it normally costs. And guess what? I signed up for this for 5 to 6 years. I'm still stuck with the bill. So even when the market cools down, we go into inflation, interest rates start to rise because they're trying to slow down the economy, I'm going to probably be looking at this truck 2 years from now and it's going to be $30,000 and I paid $65,000 for it. Can I live with that? Can I live with looking at my truck knowing if I wait, or do I get in now and try to make the best of it? It's a decision you got to make. A lot of people didn't make that decision because we're naive business people. Penske took advantage of the situation because they're smart business people. That's why 2021 and 2022, they had record years. Why? Because they knew what I was saying then. And with the overabundance of money they made in those 2 years, they can cover the slow times now. The people who did enter into the business in 2021, right, 2022, when rates were extremely high, when this unprecedented peak season that everyone keeps praying on from 2021 again, when they were making, and I'm exaggerating, but the rates were really, really high, $1 gazillion a mile. And you go back on YouTube and you look at all those videos from peak season people were making from 2021, where they were making $1 gazillion in November and December. Where do you think that money went? A person who invested, that's thinking smart, that knew everything that was going to happen, was going to happen, right? Inflation and everything that's going on now. Listen, all this overabundance of money that's coming in now is not going to be like this forever. I need to make as much as I can, and I need to sock it away. Or I need to make as much as I can now because I know I bought an overinflated truck, and I know it's not going to be like this forever. So all this overabundance of money, I need to work really, really hard and try to pay this truck off as quickly as possible before the market tanks, because I did jump in. I took that risk. But where did that overabundance of money go? It went to shit other than the business. Gucci, Louis, Tulum, Cancun, Dior, and wherever else people spent it. I'm just naming stuff for entertainment, theatrical purposes. I don't know where people spent the money, but they spent it. Me, I would have tried to pay off a lot of that debt, right? So I got the truck at a good interest rate, right? Being smart, I knew interest rates were going to go up, but I also knew that I bought a truck for double the price of what it was really worth. So it would be in my best interest to try to pay that truck down before things got tough. People didn't think like that because they thought that that was just the way things were. So D. Henderson says no peak season videos this year. I don't think no one's going to make peak season videos this year because I'm trying to be cool. I'm trying not to be, I'm trying to be cool. Everybody that made peak season videos last year looked bad. So it's best just not to do it. You know, I'm gonna give that answer. I'm not gonna make fun of nobody. I'm gonna keep it cool. You know what I'm saying? They don't want to give me a reason to pounce on them. I'm gonna answer 2 more questions and I'm out of here. I know I skipped over a bunch of questions, but I can't answer everybody's question. It was 120 people in a minute ago. Would it be worth it for me to enter the industry now in DFW? I have time so I can drive a lot. I calculate my CPM between 80 cents to $1, and I have someone who's CNA who can get me into relay under his. So if you're talking about getting into relay, I'm assuming you got a 26-foot box truck. So my question to you is, if you're talking about relay, which you got to have a 26-foot box truck, my question to you is, with a 26-foot box truck, how on God's green earth is your cost per mile 80 cents to $1 in a 26-foot box truck? That's my question to you. Now, if you're new to the business and you've never been in the business before, say that before you try to explain to me, because there's absolutely, positively no way, unless you got some 1999, 2002 truck that's absolutely paid for, and I still tell me, are you brand new? Because maybe your calculation for cost per mile is not right. I'm not trying to be negative to you, but it's just highly unlikely that your cost per mile is 80 cents in a 26-foot box truck. A lot of YouTubers too positive. Thanks for keeping it real. I appreciate you. I don't think it's about being positive or negative or being optimistic or pessimistic. I think, like you're saying, it's just being a realist. It's business. Like, you can be optimistic, but it is what it is. Listen, peak season. If there's not an overabundance of shit coming into the ports in July and August, that means there's not going to be a peak season. We don't manufacture shit here. So if it doesn't come in, even if people go to the store to buy an overabundance of shit, it's not there anyway because the retailers didn't order it. How do we know the retailers didn't order it? Because it didn't come in July and August. When historically you see the peak season freight come in so it can go intermodal and can go through the different chains of logistics to get to a shelf, a warehouse, a fulfillment center, to ultimately get to a consumer's doorstep or in their hand from them buying it off the shelf in the store. So you're right. I don't understand why people are hope. And that's why I say, man, stop buying off hope. The numbers are right there. Q1 of next year, 2024. It's historically slow. It's cyclical. And not only is it historically slow, it's going to be slower than normally slow. Why? Because orders are down 3%. For Q1, retailers order things early because of the Chinese Lunar New Year. They shut down for a whole week in China. That pushes things back for 30 to 40 days. So people can be optimistic. That's what I be trying to figure out. Why people listen. The shit doesn't just pop up in the warehouse. It has to go through a process. And normally that process could take 3 months, 2 to 3 months. It takes 30 days to get the shit from China via sea or ocean to a port in the United States. That's a whole month right there. I don't, but then that goes back to, experience. So, all right, so Easy B, if I was you, DM me, man. I'm gonna help you actually do your real cost per mile. It's not 80 cents, bro. And I'm not being pessimistic. I just know it's not 80 cents, bro. It's not 80 cents. Something you're not adding or the calculation is not right. You know what I'm saying? But DM me, and I'll walk you through your cost per mile, bro. I'll help you do that. So just DM me on Instagram and I'll help you out. I'm gonna be honest with you, my DM is nuts, man. So I got a lot of people in my DM with issues and struggling and need advice. So I can only get to about 5 or 6 a day, man. So just give me a minute, and I'm gonna try to knock out most of my DMs this weekend. But then when you DM me too, I'm gonna tell you this: don't just jump in my DM and get to talking. Say hello. At least say hi. If you don't say hi or hello, I'm not going to respond to you. Don't just come in, what's my cost per mile? I'm going to look at it. You're going to see that I read it, and you're going to never get a response. So just say hello. You don't have to introduce yourself. Say hello. You spoke to me, blah, 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 cost per mile. Say hi. Or say good afternoon. Just like somebody walking into somebody's house. Hey, how you doing? That's it. That's all I ask. D. Henderson says they pausing their authority until January. Let me see. I saw one more question I want to touch real quick. What about moving for Lowe's and Home Depot? So if you're talking about curbside or you're talking about big and bulky, there's always opportunity. If you're talking about curbside, you'll probably start seeing opportunities pop up towards the end of February because we'll be coming into seasonal. All right. So you probably weren't here early on. That was the strategy I'm telling people to start preparing, start getting ready. If you're a member to my channel, I have the contact information for the recruiters, and it's for members. I think I took it out for everybody. I left it up there for about 4 or 5 months, but I got to keep things for the members. And then you'll be able to reach the contacts. I got them all in my member section and start making contact. They all know me. You just tell them I sent you and make some point of contact so that when a seasonality picks up and they start hiring for that end of February, beginning of March, right? They'll remember you. You've already made point of contact. You've built some type of phone relationship with them, and you can get plugged in and get that onboarding process started. So that way, as you go through the season of spring and summer, dealing with all that outside stuff, because that's where the freight is. When that stuff starts to taper off in September, hopefully you'll be moved up the totem pole, that when they start making those cuts, you'll have enough seniority there that you'll be able to continue on with them with just doing in-store stuff like toilets, toilet seats, hoses, whatever, shower doors, bathtubs, palletized freight and non-palletized freight. So just make sure you sign up early. Was that the question? No. Hey, Mark, I'm now saving $1,250 a month by downsizing to a van. How is the van going for you, Zupchuck? Are you seeing better results? You said somebody was renting a truck doing curbside. Let me see. I saw one more question I wanted to answer. Yeah. What's into the industry now? I answered that one. Let me see. You do credit time. You do some of the market's tough one too. Yeah. Mark, if I still owe money, I know Lou Jackson, I wanted to answer this question. Lou Jackson been rocking with me for a minute. Mark, if I still owe money on my box truck and I want to upgrade to a semi, how does that trading process work? It would just be like trading in anything. If you're going to a truck place that sells box trucks and semi trucks, it would probably be easier, you know what I'm saying, than going to a place, let's say, that sells semi trucks and they might not want to take the trade in on a box truck. So I would go to a truck place. I mean, if they want to take your truck, they'll take it. They'll take it on a trade-in. It's like trading in a car or trading in any other thing. He said, Poland, that's why they're mad and jealous. Being right comes with hate and those denial. Yeah, I mean, I've already gotten 2 dislikes since I've been live, and I haven't said anything to offend anybody. I haven't given any misinformation. People just not gonna like you. You know, people aren't gonna like you for whatever, you know what I'm saying? So I don't charge. I come up here, I talk, you know, and give people information. And yet and still people come in and they got 2 dislikes. Those are just people that just don't like me for whatever reason. I'm okay with that. You're gonna have people that don't like you in life. You know what I'm saying? And it lets you know that you're doing something right. You know what I'm saying? It's when you don't have haters is when you need to worry. You know what I'm saying? So I don't worry about that stuff. It's DeWalt. I don't worry about that stuff. Mark, thank you for all the knowledge and game. Can't thank you enough. Appreciate you, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate you for tuning in. Too much opioid and Amazon fentanyl pack. Man, that's been going on for a couple of years now. Mark, I feel like the ones who tell you you're wrong should owe you a big apology. You'll never get that. You'll never get that. You know what I'm saying? Why? That'll never happen. But here's the thing. Me, I'm a realist. I'm not perfect. I just have experience. I'm good at it. But if I stay doing YouTube for a long time, the odds and the probabilities is eventually I'm going to make a wrong call. It's just inevitable, right? But I'm smart enough to know that there are a multitude of people who want me to be wrong so that they can point the finger. No one is ever going to remember the 1,000,000 times I was right. But the one time you're wrong, is when people are going to have a parade in the streets, right? But I know this, and that's fine. You know what I'm saying? I'm not perfect, but you know, I mean, we're going a year and a half strong, you know, and that's all due to experience. And even with the forecasting, right? My experience is what allows me to know how to forecast. But when I'm doing forecasting, I have to do research. A lot of the other things that I talk about, I could just talk based on experience, right? But when I'm forecasting like 2024, I need to know what's going on in the world. Because what was going on in the world in 2016 when I was forecasting for 2017 is not what's going on in the world in 2023 for 2024. I need to know what's going on, right? We weren't dealing with inflation in 2018 or 2012 or 2015. So I'm not saying that anybody can do it, right? But you have to educate yourself and to know how to do it, what to look for, and just do the research. It's as simple as that. So I don't, you know, when people point fingers and shit, I don't give a damn because I do what I'm supposed to do. As far as putting the information, I'm not going to get up here and sell people misinformation because I'm conscientious and I have a moral compass that I understand that the information that I give, there's going to be some people that are going to take the information at face value, right? And it's not my intention to mislead anyone or provide misinformation. So I'm conscientious of that, and I have a moral compass. I don't want to lead people. Now, we've had some examples recently of cost per mile and profit margins that I display. I'm not going to get into that either. We went through that already, but I'm bringing that up to show that there are creators out here that just say shit and don't know what they talking about. Clearly, I know what I'm doing. There's no way you're going to make 70% profit margin in a box truck, but there's people that are saying it. There's formulas that people have said out of their mouth. I'm conscientious. I'm experienced. So, you know, when people do shit like that, you know what I'm saying? It's not based off the information. It's based off of dislike for me personally. And I'm okay with that. My information is impenetrable. You can't penetrate it. It's bulletproof. And this ain't me bragging. This is a testament to my experience, my education, and my research. It's like I always say in pardon, your best tool is your brain. As long as your mind is sharp, you got a brain, you can think, you can articulate yourself well, can't nobody stop you. A gun, a knife, nothing. Knowledge is power. And that's it. And that's it, man. So, you know, on that note, guys and vans, what did everyone gross lesbian, how many trucks and witness? Is there much of a man, these comments jump. Hold on. I saw this guy. Hold on. How did this shit jump all the way down? Is there much of a market for a 16-foot box truck? Yeah. You can do the same thing the cargo vans do as far as the office supplies. You're just doing it bulk. So we used to do bulk office supply delivery with a box truck with 16 footers. Depending on your market, you know, if you're in a bigger market, there's where you have a big public school, county, hospital system, those places order pallets of paper and things like that. And you can put them on cargo vans, but you can put more on a box truck. So you would do bulk office supply stuff. So the same company that I talk about for the cargo vans, for the office supply stuff, you would just pitch to those companies for your 16-foot box truck. 16. Yeah. So same thing, but you would just handle more bulk stuff. You would handle more bulk stuff. Shout out to Natasha for that super chat. Appreciate you. Let me drop them coins for you real quick. Sup, Mark? Do I write a personal check to the business in order to write it off as borrowed money on my taxes? Do you write a personal check to the business in order to write it off as borrowed money? So you're loaning the business money, is what you're asking me? You want to write a check to your business, you want to loan your business money, right? To write it off as borrowed money. You wouldn't write it off as borrowed money. If you're writing the check to your business, you're not borrowing it. You're loaning the business money. It's not a borrow, it's a loan. That's something you would talk to your tax preparer for. You may be able to write it off as loss, but if you're loaning the business money, you would have to talk to your tax preparer to see if that's something you'd be able to write off. If you lose the money, then that's something different. But I think you got your words jumbled. Because you're saying, do I write a personal check to the business, right? So you're writing a check to the business in order to write it off as borrowed money. And if you're talking as far as the business, you can't write off borrowed money. That's not a write-off. If you're borrowing money, that's considered a credit. You can't write off a credit. You can only write off debits. So if you loan your business money, the business can't write it off because it's a credit. It's considered income. It's just like you get a loan from a financial institution. The way it looks to your accountant and to the IRS is income because it's going to be a plus or however your bank has it set up. It's a debit. It's going to have a minus or you're going to see it in parentheses. Whenever you see parentheses, that means it's a debit. It's money going out. No parentheses, no minus, that means it's money coming in. So no, you can't write that off. That's a credit. So shout out to DJ Starboy. I appreciate that. I appreciate that $9.99 super chat without a chat. So I appreciate that. You saying this as a loan, right? The business can't write it off. I don't know in which facet you're asking the question. Are you asking it from the business's point of view, or are you asking it from your personal point of view? The business definitely can't write it off because it's not a debit. It's a credit. It's income. Even though you borrowed it and you got to pay it back. Now, once you start paying it back, yeah, you can write that off. But you can't write off the initial loan because it's considered credit. If I borrow you money, if I loan you $1,000 to your business, that's a credit. Now, if you pay me back in installments of $100 in 10 months, next month you give me $100, that's a debit. The following month, that's a debit. But you can't write it. It's not going to be written off as far as the when it comes in as a credit. Only when it goes out. Thank you, Mark. You are the only one. You are one of the best out there. Shout out from Carmel, Indiana. Shout out to you. Shout out to Indiana, man. Appreciate you. Shout out to the next door neighbor, Indiana. Where's Carmel, Indiana? That's southern Indiana, right? Is that southern Indiana? Appreciate you. Yeah, sign up with Capstone. Go look at Waco. Go look at T-Force. All of them got either Office Depot or Staples. Go check them out. How do you figure or calculate what to pay a driver? That all depends. You could pay them a few ways. You could pay them percentage. You could pay them a day rate. You could pay them hourly. That all depends on what you're doing, what you're getting paid. It all depends. So you would have to go more into detail, and I can give you an idea of how it pay. Like, so for instance, let's say you're doing curbside final mile. You say, hey, I'm doing curbside final mile. For Lowe's through RXO, it's $750 a day guaranteed. I'm gonna ask you a few questions. I'm gonna ask you, what's your cost as far as your insurance, your daily cost for your insurance? If you're renting a truck or if you're financing the truck, what's your daily cost? Your rental or your finance, your insurance, what's your average cost of fuel, and all your other variable costs. So if you're like, okay, we make $750 and it costs me this much to operate, so then I'm like, all right, so now you got to pay a driver and a helper. What market do you live in? Oh, I live in New York. All right, well, you got this much room for margin, you got this much room left over, you probably gonna have to pay your driver $250 a day. Well, man, that's a lot. Well, where are you gonna get a driver in a city like New York to work for $100? I was thinking more like $150 a day. You ain't gonna get nobody in New York to pay somebody in New York for $150 a day to do 12 stops lifting refrigerators, washers and dryers, and this, that, and the third. Just not gonna happen. So I would need to know what you're doing. I need to know what your costs are to see what you have to work with, and then I could be able to answer that question for you. If you're doing, let's say, like OTR or something, you probably want to pay them a percentage. That's what I would do, because your weeks are going to fluctuate. You get stuck into something like a guarantee, running something like that fluctuate, that's not guaranteed. See, final mile is guaranteed. So even after your expenses, I say, okay, I can pay a driver $250, I can pay a helper $175. I know I'm making $750 with all my other variable and fixed costs. I know that's going to leave $150, $175, $200, let's say. And I know that every single day because I'm working off a guarantee. When you're running something that fluctuates because you're shopping on a load board, this run ain't gonna pay what that run pays. This run ain't gonna pay what that run pay. You pay someone on a guarantee, and then you have a week where you don't make that type of money. You still owe this person that type of money. You pay them on a percentage, right? Their pay scale is gonna be determined by what you make or don't make. It's gonna fluctuate with what the money that you have coming in. So it all depends on what you're doing. Now, with that OTR, that may be kind of tough because a lot of people nowadays want to know what they're making. And what they're making with a percentage all depends on you. If you're dispatching, you find a loads, like in order to keep that driver in that seat, you got to make sure they make enough money. They got to make a livable wage. Dee said, I think she want the loan money as non-taxable. Hey, listen. Listen. Natasha, I think you worrying about the wrong stuff right now, Natasha. I think you need to get into the game or get into the business and start running. You know what I'm saying? Start running. How you doing, sir? What size moving can you do with a cargo van with a high roof? I think depending, you could probably do up to a 1-bedroom. You should be able to do up to a standard 1-bedroom. If you want to get fully involved using your cargo van, you can always put a tow hitch on the back, a trailer hitch, and rent a 6x12 trailer if you need extra space. All right. Some 1-bedrooms you can get an extended length high roof cargo van, but you definitely can do a studio, a dorm, a few pieces. But you may be able to do a small, maybe junior 1-bedroom. A full-size 1-bedroom or a standard 1-bedroom, probably not. Yes, if you get a 6x12 from U-Haul for $30 and hitch it onto the back, then yeah. Mark, how do I bump my 70 to 80% profit? Never. That'll never happen. Never happen, Axel. Can you see a situation when an owner operator is better off not forming an LLC? So when you say not forming an LLC, you mean not forming and structuring their business as a corporation, or not forming an LLC or a corporation and just running under a sole proprietor? I think that's what you're asking. If you run as a sole proprietor, if you run as a sole proprietor, you're liable. 100% liable, right? the sole purpose of structuring your business is to indemnify yourself, right, from most and all liability. There are some cases where I talked about this last week, piercing the corporate veil, all right? It's easier to pierce the corporate veil of an LLC more so than a corporation, right? But the idea of structuring a business, right, whether it be an LLC or a corporation, and that's corp, a C corp, is to indemnify yourself, right, from any and all liability. Why? Because you want to protect your personal assets, right? As a sole proprietor, I always like to give the worst case scenario just so that I really do want to scare you, because I want you to make the right decision. You're a sole proprietor and God forbid you kill somebody, or your driver kills somebody, they run over somebody, or let's say they fall asleep behind the wheel, God forbid, but these are scenarios, and they kill themselves, or they run off the road and kill themselves, and kill whatever. They kill themselves, their family is going to sue you. If they kill somebody, that person's family is going to sue you, and they're going to sue you because you're a sole proprietor. That means all your personal assets. If you may not have the money, so guess what? You're going to have to start liquidating your assets. Your house, you're going to put a lien on your house. If you got a boat, they're coming for it, because all this stuff has to get sold so that that person who's suing you, if they win, they get the judgment in their favor. They got to start taking your assets, your boat, your house, your private island, whatever you own that's considered an asset. If your truck is paid off, taking that. They might take your liver, they might take your kidney. You got a good heart, they might take that too. You damn might want to just give them your heart, because you run as a sole proprietor, you probably just croak. Because then you're going to be kicking yourself because you didn't structure your business to protect you. Now, there are situations where, piercing the corporate veil exists. You know what I'm saying? So, but, it's more, you're more favored and protected by structuring your business, because once again, that indemnifies you from liability. All right, I think that's going to be the last question I take for the night, guys. I appreciate everybody for tuning in tonight. To that person earlier that wanted that, who said the cost per mile was 80 cents or whatever, hit me in the DM so I can help you with your cost per mile formula. Just be patient with me and I'll get back to you. As far as this poll is concerned, we got 40% says it's going to be flat. We're going to see unchanged for 2024. So similar. 37% says rates are going to be up. 18% says rates are going to be down. So that's the poll. Shout out to Brady for that super chat. I appreciate you. If I didn't get to your question tonight, I'm sorry. I can't get to everybody's question. Just try me again next time, or send me a DM and be patient with me. How do you join the MGM gang? Go to my channel on a desktop and hit the join button. You're not able to do it from an iPhone, but you can do it from a Google phone or an Android. So Android phones, you can hit the join button on my channel, or desktop. iOS, iPhones, you can't. All right. So y'all, appreciate y'all for tuning in tonight. I'm out. Peace.